Pasha Paroh, thank you for tuning. Drop in the chat where you at. Let me know on the map. All right, today what we getting into is you can't buy a Bentley at Walmart. So if you're in the creative space, if you're a producer, a painter, producer, if you produce, and you know what I consider producing is being the actual creator of, right? You fill in the blank. And you know what? If you are a producer, if you are creating something great, drop it in the chat, in the comments. You know, put the link to your business, your brand. Let's build the community cross department functionality. All right. So I left corporate America. Officially, it's been 2 years now. Very interesting growth, challenges, learning experiences, journey. You fill in the blank. What resonates with you? On my way here today, through time and space, I've been asked a couple of times, because being a creative, I've seen a big issue. Like, there's always the people who want a bootleg, and there's always the people who and when I say want a bootleg, I mean both sides. Like, they want to be the bootlegger, and they also want to hit up the bootleg for the latest and greatest. Okay, there's that mentality. And let's just categorize that as the United States mentality. In America, we want everybody to get their due credit. And I'm going to show you how far that goes, from CEO down to the community that you're in and your neighbors, and how the United States way is forcing the bootleg situation to become even more relevant, destroying innovation and quality, and as a byproduct of the sacrifice for cheap. And it comes from the mindset of being a retail consumer, which is why you've heard me say I like to deal with actual producers. I don't care what you're making, as long as you making it. When you just order something and you're a consumer, right? Some processes are split. Like, you need to consume to produce. Like, you might need metals and raw materials to make a car, right? Did you produce or own the process? Did you produce or own the idea, the concept, the intellectual property? And then see it through to manifestation, to translation to consumer, or to client, or to customer. So you can't buy a Bentley at Walmart. And when you're in the creative space, how do you guys feel when someone asks you, oh, you do How much does it cost? What's your price? Most people, I ain't gonna say most people, many people, I see they have an answer for that. They have a price, right? You gotta listen to my song Background, where I talk about one of the lines in there is, who taught you to name your price? But that comes from the retail mentality. Excuse me. All right. Let me get this on the screen for you here. See, this is what they're used to. The retail, right? You go into the retail store, you're looking for something, it's on the shelf, it says a price. They got two sizes, they got this size and that size, right? So you pick which size you want, and that determines what the price or cost will be. All right. So they're used to retail transactions. The reason why the title of this used a Bentley was because that's something that most people consider to be bespoke when you order it. Like when you order it, you get to customize it. I know you customize the rest of your cars when you order them. You pick your options, but you know a Bentley, that's kind of like the thing, right? All right, same thing like with a Rolls. It's like when they order them, you're sitting, most people don't just, I ain't gonna say most people don't just. When you're buying it used, it is what it is. When you order it new, it's all about the personalization process when they're upselling you, right? It's not like Rolex, right? Where it's just can you get one? It's, and does it actually cost more than a Timex? It's a process. So what I tell people is this: it's like a movie. All right. It's like a movie where if you know the budget for the movie is $50 million, then we're flying to Iceland, we got real explosions, we got A-list, B-list actors, etc. If we know that the budget is $50,000, right? We might use a green screen, we might have a no-name cast, but we can still tell the same story, yet it might not have the exact same impact, right? So what we need to do is we need to stop asking what it costs. And we need to start asking what it's actually worth. Because the nation is at risk. And people are over here trying to do math with their feelings. Right? They're not using numbers. They're using feelings. I'm gonna give you an example of this. Someone calls you like, hey, I want to do this. My response, patent pending, is it's not patent pending, but it's, what is your realistic budget? Right? What's your realistic budget? Because that way you don't gotta feel like you're like stealing something. You can get a customized fit. Right? You trying to listen in and do this and piece together some stuff where you can just get what really applies to you. It's really simple. But here's why we can't do that as a community. Because people are in the retail mindset. And when you want to spend Walmart money, you don't get the Bentley. You get Walmart. The issue is we can't be upset 10 years, 15 years down the road that all we've built in our community is Walmart and IKEA. And I don't mean like the buildings to go shopping at. I mean like our innovations, you know what I mean? Like, what's the saying? Trash in, trash out, garbage in, garbage out. If all of our resources are only, think about it. Think about you had to make a car with just parts from Walmart. You could do it. Is that going to be reliable at 140 with the top down? But you could do it. So someone hits you up, they go, look, this is what I want to do. What's your realistic budget? Because I was talking to someone, you try to give them game. You try to help out the people and they don't see it, or they feel like they understand and they go whatever. But, a lot of people will feel like you never invested in them simply because they weren't actively listening and or they didn't ask the questions that they may have had, right? So you get caught, like when you know your value, though, con artist, you're a con artist, right? Like that was the funniest thing I heard over the last 2 years. And let's say it like this. You go, what's your realistic budget? Well, they say 7,500. Okay. What happens is you start to have a range as the creative of what you can produce within range of 7,500. And that's like I said with the movie example. If you got 50 million to shoot the movie, you'd be like, okay, we can get there, we can do that. All right, cool. If you got 50,000, we're gonna be at Walmart. Okay. So if the client tells you they budget 7,500, you be like, all right, word. We're going to, you got the fiat currency now. You got the fiat? No. You got a deposit? No. Okay. When? We'll see. Right? Da-da-da-da. So let's say you talk to them again. Oh man, I think I can get it done cheaper than 7,500. You know what? You're right. You can. It's not even an argument there. Like you could absolutely get it done for cheaper than 7,500. But are you gonna get done the value or 7,500 worth? That's where the question comes into play. Because 9 times out of 10 you're not. And what happens is this, right? What do they tell you? Okay, let's say you're doing a website. Website $2,100. Okay, here we go. Payment plan. Let's say you put them on a payment plan. They put the deposit down. They give you $600-700 up front, and you're like, all right, I get started. This is the next due date for the next payment. Boom, boom. Payment doesn't come in. You stop the project. Everything stalls. 2 months, 4 months go by. They talk to you again. They come out and say, well, I couldn't afford the $2,100. Well, you knew that then when you got started. This is why I ask people for their realistic budget. The purpose of it is, I think a lot of us don't actually do what we do for the actual fiat currency we get. Because the word pay means to satisfy. I think I consider that it's different for everybody. Like some people are just like, hey, I like helping people. I like this. I like that. I like that. Whatever it is for them, right? My goal is to build sustainable communities. What's yours? Put it in the comments below. So when you consider I'm in an industry where, let's say, what you call a rebranding or a logo refresh, a brand strategy design, identity refresh, any of those topic conversations. If you got a business that's making $500,000 or less, the industry standard cost recommendation is $18,000 to $80,000. So let's use, for example, because a lot of people don't understand the value, so they can't really fully appreciate you. I recently just posted a logo. I post logos here and there. I look forward to posting more and more frequently because those are projects. And so let's say we look at that last project, the value of that per industry standard is $18,000 to $80,000. And when you're talking about these larger businesses, these numbers, they're not shocking. I want every business owner in the sound of my voice to stop comparing themselves to wage earners. Stop looking at yourself and saying, well, if I had my last job, I made $24, $25 an hour. And doing this, it take me an hour to hang this TV, and I get $100 for it. So now I'm making $100 an hour. Like, don't look at it like that, because you're undervaluing yourself in a lot of applications. So the website person comes back and say, hey, look, I couldn't afford you at the time. And in the interim, I knew I couldn't afford you. So I was talking to somebody else and they said they can do it for $250. Well, here's the problem I have. The opportunity I have is, when I asked for your realistic budget, it wasn't because I was trying to go buy a McLaren off of your project money. It was because I wanted to make sure that we could finish the project, because I'm not just thinking about you. When I'm investing in you $18,000 to $80,000 or $1 million worth of infused psychology into branding you to be in position to have the right attitude, where attitude, etymology, attitude is position. So when I'm investing decades of experience and knowledge into putting you into the right position, it's because I want the community to be sustainable around you, and I chose you for the task with some screening. This is why I like to study my clients before. I want to make sure I'm investing in worthy candidates, because as far as I'm concerned, nobody can afford me, right? Because if Pepsi paid $1.2 million for their logo, but I know they probably should have paid $2. But the negotiation went, right? And there's leverage. And then there's, you know what I'm saying? So everybody's trying to undercut right now in the United States. In America, I want us to shift to, the way I put it years ago was, whatever you pay for the product at Walmart, I want you to start getting comfortable with the concept of the idea and the action of paying your neighbor or somebody else in your community $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 more for the same exact product, so that there can be stock and management control of the product in the community. The ideal situation would be for the community to invest in, let's say that chosen person say, I like to sell this, I like to make this, to get them to start to make it themselves. Now your community is a producer of what the community needs to consume, so you don't need to go outside of the community. Then you're not running to buy toilet paper when the dock workers go on strike, like America don't make its own toilet paper. Creating unnecessary shortages simply because you didn't think. You emotionally reacted. Now the price of toilet paper go up for 2-3 weeks for no reason. All right. So they come back and say, hey, I found somebody that can do the website, $250. No, you didn't find somebody to do the website we were going to do for $250. You found someone that's telling you they can give you what they call a website for $250. And then you're sitting there sweating because you don't know if it's going to perform the functionality that you need. But you know it's $250. Now, when you do that, right, you cheat everybody. That person that committed to doing, unless they over in India, where, and I'm not saying this, I'm saying it in a positive way for them, where 250 USD is like $20,000. I don't know what I'm exaggerating. You know me, I'll tell you when I don't know what I don't know. So I'm being theatrical with the number in this case. So let's say you're talking to someone, you're saying 250, and to them where they're at, it's $20,000. All right. So you saying 250, but you realize you're paying someone else the equivalent of $20,000, but you wouldn't give your neighbor $20,000 to do it because you'd be too worried about how many bills they're paying for themselves. But you blindly do it unknowingly because you see the cost instead of the investment in the quality of life and the consideration for performance. All right, what am I getting at? What I'm getting at is, in most cases, if you keep it home, if you keep it domestic, let's say, what you would have got for $2,100, you're not going to get for $250. So the person that's trying to underbid you, or the next person so severely, is one, blind and ignorant of what it really takes, right? And here's what happens to them in that scenario. They desperately want to be accepted, which we've talked about in other videos. This is why we got to control our emotions, because it's all connected in life. So they're still weak, wanting to be accepted. So they still have acceptance issues. So they'll tell you, I'll do it for $250, because they just want you to say yes. They want somebody to say yes. Please. I'm tired of it. They're tired of the rejection. They weren't built for that in life. They feel alone. they got imposter syndrome, 250, just say yes. Then what happens to them is they lock into you go to them, and, oh, you 250, you my man, 100 grand. The other guy wanted 2,100. Okay. And then you give them this long ass list of shit you want them to do for 250. Now, if they actually can deliver it, what we know is it's not going to be quick, because you can't have quick, you know the pie, the little triangle. You can't have quick, quality, and cheap at the same time. So if you got cheap and quality, it's going to take a long ass time. So, right, let's say, and you got deadlines you're trying to meet, you want it by this date. So now what happens is this person that commits to it out of their, see, and when you get to a certain level of self-knowledge to understand people around you, you understand the trauma that you're exploiting in that person. See, when you didn't know, if you don't know these things, then you just get to walk through life blindly, like, but once you learn certain mechanics of the universe, you're either using the tool for good or you're using the tool for evil, right? Just like a pistol, just like a AR-15, you can use it for good or you could use it for evil. The tool itself is neutral. So once you learn certain mechanics, there's a fork in the road. And that's, people got to answer for that on their own, right? So if you see a person, their trauma, I like to invest in them, in healing that trauma, right? You can call up the owner of Soul Asylum. You can call up the Nikki that did my jacket. You can call up anybody, the local, anywhere you see me. If I don't have enough to give you something for yourself on top of it, I can wait. I mean, except for, like buying gas or something like that, of course. So, but if I'm dealing with a face-to-face with the owner, which I like to deal with, because to me, paying for the product at what it costs is not investing in you. The cost of the product was just the consideration for performance for delivery. Now, I care about you and your establishment. I want to do a little investment into it. I mean, I need to put something on top of that. So if the custom jacket was X dollars, then I might give you X 20. Right? Because I'm gonna give you something for yourself. You see what I'm saying? So here's the issue. That person that took the website job for $250 just to be accepted, the emotions got the best of them. Then they realize 10% into your project, they don't already work 40 hours and they got 90% more to do. And they've already put in 40 hours. So let's see, I got the calculator here. Hold on, let's see what that would be. 250 divided by 40. So they're at $625 an hour. They gotta go. So let's say that would have been 400 hours they're gonna put into it total. So 250 divided by 400, they made 62 cents an hour. Or they say, you know what? Fuck this shit. I got to get this other project because I need some more capital. Now, either way, the quality of your product go down because their stress level is high. They're distracted with everything else that's going on, and they're not able to maintain the proper quality of life to put good energy, completely pure energy into what they're producing. And if you know anything about energy, it transfers. So when you got negative energy, when you pumping the cook full of negative energy, right? You wondering why the spaghetti a little funny. You know, your steak didn't come out right. Because you don't realize how everything is connected. Okay, so that person, you could say, did it to themselves, but it was out of two desperate souls. The one that was looking at a life of a scarcity instead of seeing the abundance, right? I mean, even when you have nothing, there's still abundance. You just got to tap into it, and it's a question of how. So this person winds up making 62 cents. The project comes out fucked up. It's half of what you really wanted. Y'all argue. Now y'all both stressed out. That transfers into the family life, your family life at home, right? Now little viewer 25 son, right, is going to school beating up the kid next door, right? All because his mother or father charged $250 for something that should have been $18,000. Like this is really how simple this shit is in a bunch of different tributaries. The wife is mad because this didn't get paid, right? They're both yelling at the kid, all because he took your project for $250, all because you didn't want to pay the person that said and was in position to take $2,100 and give you $1 million project. So you go to get $250 and you wind up with Fisher Price. Now, so that fucks him up or her. That fucks you up as the client. And now you got to take that bullshit to the community and put it up for them to interface, and their user interface, their user experience is fucked up. Now the community's suffering. Now they can't get what should have been the full experience. So here go the dominoes again. And you wonder why everybody tight with everybody. Okay? It's because you keep trying to take the retail mentality for something that would have been $100. This person come in, undercut them, say they got it for 80. This person says they can do it for 70. No, I got it for 50. Nah, fuck that. Come fuck with me. I got 25 all day. Okay, I got 3 for 10. You know what I'm saying? Now, what would have been a whole $100 to circulate in the community, when that product moved, you got $475. Now you tight. Looking at your neighbor like, nah, I can't. What the fuck you mean you charging $4 for that soap? Man, you know I can go to Walmart and get that same soap for $250. Because you stressed because you got $475 instead of $100 because you wanted to be accepted. What we need to be accepting is the ownership of the nation. You're not buying paper towels. You're birthing a movement when you sit down with creative people. I don't care if you're making a music video. I don't care if you're doing a website, a logo. I don't care if they're doing your hair, right? Because you're creating something. And it's different for everybody. What needs to go into that? It's not like red beans and rice. You know, you need a recipe, and it's this much of that, and it's the, you know, you used to walking into McDonald's and ordering the number 7. I don't know what that is. I'm just pulling a number for answers. And you're used to it being this amount. That doesn't work with creative. Okay? So lose the retail mind, because it's destroying the creative community, because you pressure the people who accept it. Fucks it up for the people who it don't really fuck it up. What happens is it creates a divide, and everybody gets what they want, and that's where we need to educate the consumer, educate the client as to why. Well, hey, look, if you don't got it, you know, wait, right? Wait till you got it. We can talk about what it costs then to make, because prices are always subject to change. All right. So let's see here. Let me check the notes here. Right. So they stop coming in like it's Target. You want fast, convenient. You want on sale. You know, you want the big ideas. You want a small price tag at places for $1.99 and free shipping. That's not how this works. All right. You want I like this one where it said you don't ask Rolex to cut you a deal because Timex is cheaper. Like, you know, the person that said 2,100, knowing it should be 20,000, but is willing to invest with you, don't care that it's somebody that can do for 250, because they're not doing the same thing. All right, so it's the retail issues. It's okay to shop around, but don't be totally focused on the number, because you got cost, you got quality, and you got time. All right. So a custom creative isn't a shelf item. It's the Bentley. Okay. Don't rob the process of the soul of the process. Right. Don't reduce value to volume, or you'll miss the whole point about why the creative work isn't about price. Okay. So, you know, look at a logo as your national flag, right? The photo shoot isn't about looking good on the gram, right? But it's actually about building a legacy that your grandkids might be proud of, right? The project that you're working on, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know how much success it could actually be if you just gave it your best. If you gave it your best. But you don't want to you give everything else in life your best, except for yourself. Why do we do that? You can't give yourself the best because you'd rather have two car payments and a mortgage. And you know, where whatever designer, and I'm not really necessarily in the pockets of people. I'm in the ideas. It's the thought process, because this is what's affecting the nation. I did the video that showed y'all 47 to 49 people are killed every day. And I broke it down for you in that video, how it all ties back to economics. So that makes everyone in the nation responsible, because we're not collectively doing something to make it different. So we're all like, when you next time you see that shooting happen in your community and you see that court case and you watching it on First 48 or CSI, and you're like, ooh, that, I want you to not look at it like, look what happened to them. And on all sides, the victim and the assailant, and they got this was their sentencing, and look what you're watching it third party. I want you to start watching and considering those scenarios as you are responsible too, because every day that we get up, we got an opportunity to change the economic situation of our communities, but you too comfortable. Oh, it didn't happen to me today. We're good. Okay? So once we realize that, this might go a little faster. This change. Now, there are the people in the industry that'll go, okay, you got 250, I'll take that. I'm gonna give you 250 worth. The issue for some people is, I want to build a portfolio. Like no matter what your budget is, I'm gonna give you the $1 million project, because I'm interested in making the community in the best position. You know what I'm saying? It's not really about you. It's about what works through you to make the community better. So the issue is, the opportunity is, stop shortcutting, stop being cheap, because that destroys the nation. It creates more crime, it creates less opportunity, everybody's tight, and that's why y'all can't even speak to each other when you walk by in the street, in the store. I'm too busy because I have to work so much, so long, that I literally only have these 2 hours to cram in 6 hours of life that I want to chores and errands and tasks. And now I'm gonna be mad at you because you saw another human being and said, oh, let me say hi to another human being. I'm so fucked up that I'm gonna find something wrong with you for having the time and dignity to even speak to me in passing and want to have a conversation of any sort. So I had a direction for you. You know how that happens sometimes. So would you still be asking how cheap you could get it if you knew how much damage that caused? All right, let me see here. Covered the movie. Emotional weight. Okay, economic death. Covered that. All right. So find out what the project is worth to the person. They say 7,500. Then they come back and say, I think I can get it done cheaper. Well, I asked you what your budget was. I didn't ask you if you thought you can get it done cheaper, right? Because I know it can cost you a lot more. Which one you want to hang on to? It could be cheaper or it could be a lot more, right? No, I didn't get it done cheap. Okay, well then get it done cheaper. But if I asked you what your budget is and you say 7,500, I didn't tell you you had to give me 7,500. You said you had 7,500 to put into it. So then Bentley's going to tell you what options you can get to customize your bespoke automobile when you tell them your realistic price range. See, that's the problem that I think that separates the retail from the creative industry. We can make the $50,000 movie. We can make the $50 million movie. Fiat currency. The question is, what do you want to invest? And just be real. If all you have is $250, then maybe there's a payment plan, or maybe, yeah, you do need to go work with the person that's going to do it for $250, and you need to start somewhere and build your way up and then come back later if that's what you do. Right? But this is also why 74% of the S&P 500 rebranded within the first 7 years of their existence. Because a lot of people just, get something done, you throw something up there, okay, we're out there, now we're in business, let's go do business. Then you grow and you say, yeah, you remember that logo we had 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last week? I've been thinking about it. It might not be, the best for us. Okay, well, let's get a new one. Let's upgrade. And then you come back when you have it and do it right or do it better. Don't waste the creative person's time. Okay? And if you're a creative person, don't undervalue yourself, because it's a trickle down effect it affects the whole community, and 47 to 49 people you're partly responsible for die every day, all because you wanted to be accepted. Does that make sense? Appreciate the custom creation. I'm Pasha Paroh.